Yo, in this video, we're going to be going into how to be yourself and what exactly does it mean to be yourself. Because there's times when people say, be yourself, but how can you be yourself when you find yourself contradicting yourself? You find yourself having one goal, but then having another aspect of yourself pulling you back. You see a girl that you like, but you're too afraid to go talk to her. There's the aspect of you that wants to go talk to her, and there's the aspect of you that's too afraid. These two opposing selves are causing an issue here in conflict. You can't make the decision, and you don't know how to harmonize these things together. Another example would be when you want to quit smoking. You want to quit smoking, but there's another aspect of you that wants to keep smoking. So when we're talking about being yourself, we have to understand that we're talking about a multifaceted being with multiple aspects to himself. And so being yourself at the end of the day is going to mean being able to harmonize all of these aspects of yourself in a way that allows you to express yourself without any contradiction and through a state of integrity and also truthfulness. Authentic being is really going to lie within understanding the different aspects of yourself and understanding how to align them together. So in this video, I'm going to show you the different aspects. We're going to talk about the different ways that we can separate ourselves from ourselves and what we can do to begin to bridge the gap between the self that is opposed and the self that is with growth. Because at the end of the day, we're looking to evolve and we're looking to grow. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the self in this very circle-like manner. And I go over here. This looks more like an egg. But this is the true self. This is the ideal self. The ideal. And this is probably where most people are, which would be the segmented self or the fragmented self. Fragmented. So this self right here is going to look a little bit like this, where this is where we're going to have our persona. And aside from all of that, so let's see. I'm going to cover this up. So this is shaded in. This is all colored. This is all unconscious. And right here, there's no shades. Within the core of our being lies the true self. Outside of that lies the soul, a layer above that. And then at the most outermost level, or the most surface level, is the personality. So here I'm going to explain how to be yourself through spirituality and psychology. The aspects of the spirituality are going to involve the true self, which is something that can be experienced at a very real level and at a very experiential level. And it's what the mystics, the enlightened, always are talking about. And then the soul has to do with psychology. It's my understanding of Jungian psychology. And the personality is my understanding of psychology in general. We could talk about cognitive, behavioral, but within here is going to lie a lot of what the common knowledge has about mental health and psychology. And here I have a representation of where most people are, which is right here we have the persona. The persona is the mask that we use to interact with the world. So this could be the one that you use that you developed through conditioning, through societal assimilation, through parental conditioning. So we have to repress an aspect of ourselves to be able to function in this society. There are aspects of ourselves that this society cannot take on fully. And one of them being, most likely the true self, the truest expression. The society is still not ready for that, at least yet now. And that's why there's this big war going on between the authentic and then I guess we could say the corrupt or the deception that which lies here. But at the end of the day, this isn't anything bad. This is a natural process. This is a natural state of being. We have all gotten to this place where there is an aspect of ourselves that we would call ourselves here, but this aspect is cut off from the rest of us. Here is what is conscious, here is what is unconscious. And then over here, everything here is conscious. The ideal self is in complete consciousness, um, with all that it is. While the false self, you can call this the false self, we call it the false. While the false self is much more tuned into, well, acceptance and social approval, etc. So, like I said, the persona is the mask that we use to interact with the world. It is created through conditioning, and the conditioning that we go through is a filtration process or a repressive process, which stows away aspects of ourselves into the unconscious. And this shaded area, we have our personal unconscious, which is going to be on the most outermost layer, which pertains to the personality. But any layer deeper than that, we get to see basically the unconscious, where it pertains to the soul and the true self. Being yourself is a lot more complicated than just speaking your truth. Being yourself involves being able to dig deeper into who you truly are and making the unconscious conscious. By that I mean removing all this gunk, all this darkness within the self, removing that to be able to reach this state. The goal is this. This is a process of inner work. Inner work. So let me go into what it means to be yourself through these layers, okay? Being yourself through the true self means being connected to everything, means being one with the all and all with the one. It means understanding that what you are is really an expression of the universe, understanding that you exist before this lifetime and you'll exist after this lifetime. You'll understand that you are infinite, that you are eternal. This is also similar to the idea of the no self, where there is no true self, according to Buddhist philosophy. This all falls in line because the experience is the same. The experience of experiencing yourself as this expanded awareness that extends to at the universal level, that is an awareness that really breaks the idea of individuality. You understand that you are one with the source, and you've come from the source, and you are the source. So that is the true self. And we can call that, we had names, we could put names to it. That could be your connection to God. It could be spirit. It could be the monad. But these esoteric terms are what describe the true self. Now, when we're talking about the soul, we're still talking about an individualized, differentiated being. We're talking about the soul. We're basically talking about the being that lives past lifetimes and future lifetimes. A lot of reincarnation has to do with this. We understand that we can access the soul, and the soul has a lot of wisdom from both our past lives and both our future lives, and also parallel lives. So this is where we get to understand how we can express ourselves at a very creative level. Creativity comes from the soul, and so then being yourself through the soul means also living through soul aspects. So, for example, living through love, having the desire to serve, um, gaining all these skills such as compassion and empathy. You can gain healing abilities through the soul. You can gain a lot of different abilities, psychic abilities, clairvoyance. As you start to develop and extend your consciousness deeper into yourself, these gifts start to awaken. And then the personality self is being yourself through the personality self, or through the lens of the personality self, means just being able to operate. But operate, you can be very witty, you can be very funny. It's that thing when people say, "Oh, he has a great personality." That's what this means. It's like you have your ego is strong in the sense that you have developed your ego, in the sense that you have confidence and you feel competent. And this is a very grounded, more not tangible. I'd say more applicable to the 3D world. It is definitely more 3D. It's the personality stuff. Like, you build your personality through your life experience. So you are and here's the thing though. The personalized self is at first the persona, and the persona is the person that is usually contradicting themselves and very not confident, very shy, very nervous. You can have anxiety, you can have depression, you can have a lot of neurotic disorders. And so the reason I bring this up is because to have a personality, I mean, we all have personalities, but if we're talking about the person who is fragmented and split, they don't have a full personality. That is all shaded in the unconscious. So if you want to, when people say, how do I develop my personality? How can I become a more personal person? How can I connect at that level? It requires an extension of consciousness into the unconscious, into that which is hidden, into that which is not seen. So when we're talking about the shadow, for example, in shadow work, we're talking about the layer here that lies on the outside that pertains to the personality but has been shut off through conditioning. So the shadow could is basically going to be here. It's the area of the personality which has been shut off, and we could call the deeper layers here. I would call that more like a collective shadow or a collective unconscious. But that is still not. This is a concept that I've been working with. Um, so we could call all of this the shadow. Also, it just depends on the depth of how of the basically what we're talking about. We're talking about the soul shadow, about the true self shadow. But for now, for the context for this video, I just want you to understand that basically a lot of people right now, to be yourself, you really just want to be able to have personality. You just want to have confidence. You just want to be able to talk to people, because the majority of people are here. So just so that you understand, how can I develop my personality? How can I be myself at the personality level? How can I be confident, competent, and be able to basically, just interact, achieve my desires, interact with people in a way that is personable. You do that through shadow work. So now let's talk about the process of awakening, the process of inner work, the process of going from persona to personality, or from false self to true self, or from false self to ideal self. These are the same. These are very similar concepts. So first off, what I want to say is that inner work is very simple. Inner work has to do with your ability to awaken to who you truly are. So it doesn't matter what you do. It could be meditation. It could be journaling. It could be dream work. It could be lucid dreaming. All of these things that exist in the spiritual world exist for a reason, because all these things help you awaken to who you truly are. If you're lucid dreaming, for example, you most likely can awaken to the soul aspect of yourself. If you're meditating, you will most likely awaken to the true aspect of yourself, to the true self within you. And so inner work is this process of taking on these different practices, these different intentions, to be able to understand who you truly are. And what I want to say is that most people are often operating, if you had to encapsulate all that you are through these circles, people direct their energy outwards, because this is how we interact with the world. So let me remove this real quick. So often people are just doing a lot of outer work. We are moving. It's a process. It's a process of, we have a persona. We take from inside. We bring from inside to project outwards. So that means that we take from the persona to be able to express outwards. And so that means that whatever potential I have here, whatever things in my awareness that I have here, most of the things that pertain to myself, my pure potential, are going to lie within here. There's still a lot of things that maybe you could use here. So for example, maybe you know that you're good at soccer or something. So like that's something that you built up through experience, and that's a part of your personality and a big part of your ego. So you'll derive a lot of value from that. That's going to be a big aspect of your persona. So whenever you go out into the world, that's kind of what you use to operate through a sense of confidence. But because you don't have these other aspects unlocked, for example, your ability to communicate, or your self-esteem, or your emotional intelligence, these things that are discussed in psychology, because you have no understanding of that within yourself, anytime something comes in and challenges you from the outside, you become very limited with the resources that you have in order to be able to deal with them. This is why all of this matters, because being yourself is a lot more about, is also more, it's more than just being confident. It's about being able to handle the things that life throws at you. You want to have the most amount of resources possible. So if you get challenged, for example, you go through a breakup, or you're going through an awakening, or there's a major life crisis, it's always going to push you to expand your awareness of yourself. So this is what the process of life crises, or if you're consciously taking on more challenges and you're consciously doing the inner work, what you're doing is you're pushing your awareness and your light deeper into you, and removing a lot of the stuff that you don't know about yourself. You're removing a lot of that shadow. You're revealing yourself to yourself. And often, we just keep building, and we keep building around layers. And so, even me, I do not claim to be here. If I was here, I probably wouldn't be in this world. I'd probably be in another dimension, or I'd be here, but I'd be a master. I'd be like levitating and all different kinds of shit. But I'm not there. I'm just saying that right here, what you need to understand, that there's a dynamic here. I want you to really focus on and understand how you operate in this world. Most all the time, you're always taking from yourself. You're always using resources from yourself. Sometimes if you start using resources from other people, like you start manipulating people, or you can start putting a lot of emphasis on things outside of yourself, that can also be very debilitating, because that runs out. That is not fixed. What is infinite, it's taking from yourself. This resource is continuously renewing, it's continuously growing, it's continuously evolving. So if you can take from yourself, then you will always be able to give more. So this, like, as you grow, you have more potential, more energy, more light. So you can double that expression power, that power to express. And so then if another life crisis comes in, you're able to redirect it and handle it, and you can still, and somehow, it still becomes something that progresses, that helps you progress, but it doesn't become as big of a crisis as it would have been. So this concept of being yourself it's more to help you understand how to take the most out of yourself, and also develop yourself to a point where you can continuously grow and continuously transform while also progressing in your life. Okay? So this dynamic is very important for you to understand the concept of inner work, because if you don't understand that, this idea that all of that which you create in this world comes from you, it all comes from you. So if you only know a small aspect of you, you have very little resources to use. So, for example, if I only have like this one yellow thing, but I'm holding this cup, it's like people are living, and they look at this, and this is the only thing they have. They're living, and they're like, oh, you know what? I want to paint that thing pink, but I only got yellow, so I can't do it. But the moment you start waking up to yourself, you start gaining awareness. You're like, oh shit, I actually got some colors in my hand. I actually can, like, oh, I got pink here. Shit, I can now begin to paint that, and then you begin to develop more. So learning more about yourself gives you more tools for you to be able to create in this world. So this is the key, basically, to become a greater creator, realize your potential, and to create your ideal life. This is where it all comes from. It comes from understanding what you truly are, because within here lies everything. Within the unconscious lies your deepest desires, your deepest dreams. It lies your gifts, lies your potential, everything, bro. Like, we can go on for hours, and this is what we talk about, but that's the field that spirituality talks a lot about. But let's proceed. So now let's talk about inner work. How do I get from the false self to the ideal self? Kind of already mentioned it, but it's about raising awareness to yourself. That's basically it. And if you are conscious and okay, I want to be myself, but I know I'm not there yet. So what's the thing? What's the most simple step that you could take on? You just accept where you are. So understand where you are. If you know that you have low self-esteem, then understand that that's where you're at. And don't fight it, accept it, take it as a place to start from. And so, the very simple thing that you can begin doing, which I mentioned in my course, is begin to take personality tests. Begin to figure out the different aspects of you. We all have different aspects. For example, we can We can break up our personality, and through introversion or extroversion. We can break it up um, through temperament, through likings and dislikings, and so the more you discover about yourself, the more you can begin to accept. If you can begin to accept that, if you have like depression or anxiety, going to a therapist and figuring out kind of where that stemmed from, the trauma that came from, that also is giving you more knowledge and more experience. So the reason this perspective will help you transform basically any personal problem in a way for you to gain more awareness about yourself. That's the main thing that I want you to take on, which is to be myself means to accept where I'm at and to be able to know that there's much more to me. So my desire is to be able to bring where I'm at up to a point where I'm moving closer to my ideal. And so the point that I said earlier, which was that being yourself is about harmonizing the different aspects of yourself and expressing yourself authentically. How do you do that? It's going to tie it all together now. So basically, like I said earlier, you dig and then you express. Like when you want to interact with the world, you want to have much more awareness of your power so that you can begin to express outwards. The ideal is that if you have complete awareness of who you truly are, then you're not operating just from here. For example, like the personality. If you operate from the personality, you can give from that. But if you operate from the soul, you're multiplying the power that you project onto the world. And then if you operate from the true self, then you multiply that also. And so you can imagine the amount of power, the creative power that you have to create and to bring out into this world. It all stems from how deep you can express yourself from. And so with that concept being said, if you only have a personality and you have no knowledge of your soul, you will increase your ability to project, right? Because for that versus this little thing, this is like a little bit taken from here. This arrow is taken from this whole layer. So you'll always project a good amount, but the only way to multiply that creative power and to put more out into the world as a creator is by tapping into these spiritual aspects, the soul and the true self. That is going to be the key to success, relationship, love, basically, fulfillment, and then also just in terms of your manifestation abilities. When it comes to manifesting, you can increase your ability to manifest also. It all stems from knowing yourself, and when you know yourself, you can be yourself. So really, at the end of the day, this whole video can be simplified in 3 things. The first thing being that your ideal self, or actually we are all, as selves, we are all multidimensional. We have multiple aspects, such as the personality, the soul, and the true self. Understanding these aspects and understanding what it means to be oneself through these aspects will give you a much wider understanding of what it truly means to be yourself. The second point being that right now, most people are fragmented, and this unconscious stems from, or the unconscious is the cause for most of people's anxiety, neurotic disorders, etc. So the more you can understand who you truly are, the more you basically get closer to this ideal. All right. And the third point is working towards realizing your potential, or how do I get from the false self to the true self? Well, you basically have to do the work, whether it be meditation, shadow work, etc. Any work that allows you to bring more light onto the unconscious, help you understand more about the unconscious, help you make the unconscious conscious. Any work that does that will lead you closer to this, revealing more of yourself, which will then in turn lead you to create much more from these. Will be able to basically make you a much greater creator versus just being able to put out this much into the world. So it's all about energy, and I want there are a lot of things you can go into aside from that, when it comes to like this dynamic of um, the internal and the external, how we project onto this world, etc. I think that could be its own video within itself. But I just want to add that point that most people are living lives and they're wanting to take from the outside in. So they want to hold on to things that can help them to extend this part of themselves. So that kind of like helps create this much larger, um, this larger expanded self. But the thing is that this will break because this is not in within one's self. This could be putting emphasis on money. This could be putting emphasis on women. This could be putting emphasis on power over people. This could be emphasis on just controlling. This is where a lot of people mess up. And so they begin to, yeah, they might have a lot of creative abilities. But at the end of the day, because what's going to happen what's going to happen once one of these things take a hit? Once, you lose your job or your partner leaves you, what's going to happen once that happens? It's going to disappear. So what I want people to focus on is being able to always create from here, because the deeper you go, the more you can project out. And when it comes to inner work, instead of you going out like we do here, we go out and we take in so that we can build another form. Instead of you doing that, you go out and you create other ecosystems which are self-sustaining. And that is going to be something that we can talk about in the future. So stay tuned for that. But that's it for this video. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I'll see you on the next one. All right. Stay lucid. Peace.